morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take, and the focus, of course, Ukraine. What's going on? What are the tension levels? That's what's been dictating where the markets have been going. And yesterday, a little bit of that tension seems to have come down a little bit, although there's not confirmation about movement and all the rest of this. Nonetheless, the markets took off like you wouldn't believe. As a matter of fact, we were up more than 500 points, or about 500 points towards the high end. We actually pierced back through that 35,000 level, and things looked great. As a matter of fact, we were up about 400 points when we finished the day. A really nice performance from the Dow, and on the NASDAQ, again, really a nice performance as well. Up nearly 300 some odd points, up a couple of percent. And it seemed like a bit of a pause somewhere between that 250 and 300 level, but a very nice performance once again. What was leading that performance yesterday for the NASDAQ, which did outpace in terms of percentage gains, it was technology, of course. Technology really did take off. Semiconductors, wow. When you look at the SMH, that sort of sells the entire story. Up nearly 5.5% yesterday across the board, whether it be NVIDIA, Micron, AMD, Marvell, Intel, all of these names actually moving to the upside. And then, of course, when you look over at the technology spot, and that was up, call it nearly 3%, almost 3% for the tech side of things. That was really impressive performance as well. Now, consumer discretion actually had a pretty decent day. Started off strong, finished strong. Energy started off very, very weak, actually finished much improved. It was down about 3% early, finished the day down a little over 1.25% or so. So a nice recovery there as well. You take a look at the price of crude. We did get down into that, call it the 89 to 91, popped right back up towards that 92 level. You look at the 10-year. Kind of been holding in this 2%. A lot of people staring at that, of course. We're all looking at the Fed, how many hikes, all the rest of that, what kind of accelerated pace we might have. Everybody's got their opinions on that as well. So that's something that's certainly been a backdrop. But I'll tell you what, there has been a lot of movement. And yet yesterday, the interesting part about it was 35 million contracts, quite a bit off of where we had been. So even though that's a monstrous number, you get kind of used to that 40, 45, 50, 53 million contracts trading a single day. To go back down to 35 million, definitely one of the lowest, I believe, for the entire year thus far. So that just does tell you something. Now we're only 6 or so weeks into the year, but nonetheless, still pretty interesting to see that volume that just wasn't quite there. There were some losers yesterday. You look at the beta energy side of things, that was where we saw a lot of pain. We talked about energy and how it finished in negative territory, but it was really those beta names. They work the same way, to the upside and to the downside. That same beta is moving. And it was names like Pioneer, EOG, PSX, you look at Occidental, OXY, all those names definitely having some pressure put on them. Moderna had a really nice day yesterday. Tesla had a great day yesterday, up about 5%. Apple, throw in Salesforce, throw in Boeing, which had a wonderful day as well. So across the board, a lot of different categories. Marriott, which hit new highs as well. So there's a lot of different areas, but then you look at airlines, you start to look at American, you look at United, you look at Delta, you look at all those various names, Southwest, all moving to the upside, and then the cruise ships as well. CCL, you also look at Norwegian Cruise Lines, all of those having a pretty decent day as well. So a lot of participation from a lot of different areas within the market. So today we start off a little bit more concerned about what's going on in Ukraine. That seems to be obviously what everybody's focus is on, and that makes total sense. And that's really been a very market moving thing to watch. So we look at the Dow, down about 100 points very early on, down about 50 on the NASDAQ. By the time we accelerated and we just continued to see some of that same sort of selling, now, just before I came on, Dow was down about 200 points and the NASDAQ down nearly 200, about 175 points for the NASDAQ. So some pressure on in the first hour, and we all know first hour doesn't mean that's how the entire day is going to go. As a matter of fact, a lot of the time, it's that final 30 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 hours of the day where we actually see a lot of that incredible movement that actually gives us those closes that have been absolutely incredible each and every day. So you look at the volatility index. We closed yesterday, pretty tight range, and it was around 26. Today, fairly tight range, 25 to 27. Still in that 26, 26.50 level. A little bit surprising it's not a little higher right now. As we hear in the middle of the week on a Wednesday, we're not looking at the weekend quite just yet. So you'd almost expect a little bit more of a bubbling of that implied volatility and the VIX and everything else, we're not really seeing that. Just kind of holding steady here in that 26, 27 range. So we do look over at crude, however. Started the day around 93, moved up 93 and a half. Next thing you know, 94. We're watching that price start to move. A lot of people jumping off the bandwagon. The second it had that little bit of a pause, like as if we're always going to go higher every single day. It's always amazing to me. They call it the weak hands. The weak hands. I heard a lot of people on television today talking about it. So we'll see. I'm still convinced that we get into the 100 level, and I don't think it just stops right at 100 and that's the end of it. But I certainly do consider that to be a level where I think it's very, very easy for us to get up and through. And saying this in 60 continues this move to the upside. And it's for all of the variety of reasons that we've talked about in the past, why crude is a very interesting commodity that actually fuels a lot more than just our cars and vehicles and airplanes and everything else. There's a lot more to it than that. And it's going to take a lot longer than a year, 2 years, 3 years to make that transformation over into a much more green type deal. So because of that, I'm pretty convinced right now, given the pressures around the world, that we still get through 100. Could be wrong, but that's the way I'm positioned as well. So there you go. Technology today started off a little bit down about 1%, down about 1.5%. Consumer discretion just kind of floating around a little bit. Energy's kind of popped up about 2% so far, but the semiconductors definitely leading to the downside. And you've got technology down 1.5% and the semi is down 2%. That's going to pull on that NASDAQ. That's why we're getting that kind of move that we're seeing today. Generac having a really great day today. Those beta energy names popping right back. Yesterday, moving to the downside. Today, you look at Devon and Marathon Oil and Diamondback and all these various names, PSX, all having a pretty nice day. You got Kraft Heinz having a very nice day as well. What's not having a great day is Roblox. That, unfortunately, with their earnings, has been a stock that's been under pressure, down 20, 25% throughout most of this morning. Then you look over at Viacom, also an earnings play that's down about 18% last I looked. Could be different right now, but that's been under pressure as well. Facebook just continues that negativity, down about 3% today, along with other social media like Twitter down 3%, Zoom down a couple of percent, call it 3%. Moderna, which was stronger yesterday, had a little bit of a flip around and a little bit of pressure on it today. Netflix with a little bit of pressure. Those mega cap names, those big tech names, the FANG names, as everybody likes to call them, but it's more than just FANG. But you look across at some of these names, Microsoft and Apple and Salesforce, big market cap names that are getting pulled to the downside a little bit. Not major, but that obviously starts to add up as well. So I've got two unusuals. And then you'll see me on the halftime report today. We got a full desk, my goodness sake, as well as some great guests coming on there. So that ought to be a lot of fun. And also, of course, we'll have our unusual option activity as well. At least two of those are going to be hit at, different than what we're seeing right now. Number one right now, look at Alcoa, AA. It was trading right around 76 at the time of these options hitting, and 3,000 of the February 79 calls. Not giving you a lot of time. Understand that. This is very, very short term. But they're rolling up from the 76 calls, made some money there, and putting them into the 79 calls. Not all of them, but 3,000 rolling up from those calls. So going for between 74 cents and 93 cents for those options. We'll see. That's going to take a little bit more of a pretty decent move for a name like Alcoa in the next couple of days to make that kind of move. We'll see if that can happen. Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it, trading around 216. A lot of pressure on that name. It's had some pressure on the name as well, but trading right around 216. We did see a buyer of a little over 11,500 of the February 220 calls. So looking for a little bit of a bounce. Got a couple of days. Will there be a bounce in Meta? We'll see. Those are going for about $1.15 up to a little over $2 for those options. But obviously, we know how Meta trades, and we know these huge ranges in which it can trade within. So we'll have to see if that's a stock that actually can make that kind of a move in a fairly short period of time. Should be pretty interesting to watch. Folks, I'll look forward to seeing you on the halftime report. Until then, have a great day of trading.